I had the pleasure to sit down with the awesome team from the new digital comic book series, Metaknyts. As an epic tale, Metaknyts is a story that is unapologetically Afrocentric, Afrofuturist, and uniquely brings the conversation of data protection rights into the world of fantasy and imagination. This conversation is free flowing. I start with David Lewis, the lead developer, who is in charge with the limited edition NFT drops that will be released alongside the project. We gain creative insights from one of the artists, Ness, and finally, the CEO and creator, Dele Atanda. I must warn you, I experienced some connection issues in the beginning. However, everyone else was crystal clear, so don't worry. Getting through that, you'll learn about this amazing genre bending work of art in the decentralized space. Enjoy. Metaknights is the world's first cryptographic comic series that tells the story of the battle for the soul of the internet. When I first heard that, I'm like, you got me. So, please, Dave, dive me into this world.
Yeah, a lot of sci-fi, from my perspective, what makes great sci-fi is ones that mirror reality very closely with the twist, from my perspective. And when we say that you're battling for your soul, not just on the internet, but in the metaverse in general, what we're specifically saying is there are data sovereignty rights that are violated that we forfeit just to participate in the metaverse, right? Every time you click a term of service box, every time you agree to some terms of service, you're forfeiting your sovereignty in order to participate in a community that, especially on the metaverse side, is decentralized. And we don't understand why that has to be. Why does a central entity, either a state actor or a corporation, why do they have to put themselves in the middle of this in order for us to have this type of community? So we see them as bad actors. Now, whether their intentions were bad to begin with, whether or not it's just in a profit model that board members decided to execute, or whether or not it's because the framework that was built or the architecture that was built for their platforms are designed in that manner, doesn't matter to us. All we know is that we put data sovereignty and data rights on the same level as human rights. And so Meta, Dele's here, when he comes, hopefully he'll give you an explanation, is a Yoruba term, right, for three. And Dele says all the time, right, that we really have three selves: our physical selves, our mental self, how we process information and move mentally through our spaces. But also there's a digital self every time we execute in the metaverse. And folks will say, well, I'm not a part of that. And I'm not, well, really? Because last time I checked, when you use your smartphone, you were in the metaverse. When you used the platform to stream some entertainment, you were in the metaverse. And in order for you to participate in that digital community, you forfeited your digital rights. That data that was being sucked from you is aggregated at a very high level. And then it's parsed out and it's used as revenue streams. And more nefariously, as we saw in our recent election cycle, it's used to influence the hearts and minds of individuals to move along a track whether the populace agrees with it or not. And from that perspective, you have to ensure that you protect those rights with the same vigor and fervor that you protect your human rights. And for us, specifically being a Black NFT operation, being a Black corporation, all Black dev team, all Black artists, and just in general, we believe in targeted universalism. That's a term Heather McGhee wrote in her book, The Sum of Us. She talks about in her book how white America looked at a zero-sum game. And she specifically highlighted how when mandates from the federal government came to integrate public pools, their school boards, their city commissions and municipalities would rather fill the pools in and turn them into land spaces than allow Black people to get into the pools, because somehow in the mindset of white America that if Black people were on par, equal, or was given an opportunity to have true equal level playing field, that somehow that meant they could not, right? But the conversation is always reversed when we talk about reparations or when we talk about justice or equality. It's always a rising tide will lift all boats. So when we work on the economy together, then Black people's economy will go up better as well. It's always this concept of universal targeting. We will target universally the populace, and then everybody will get better, right? So we've taken that exact same approach because in this space, and not just cryptocurrencies. I don't want to limit the conversation with cryptocurrencies. In the metaverse in general, in Web3, in the next version of the internet, and just the digital domain as a whole, is permissionless. We don't need state actors, government bodies. We don't need anyone. We can drive this train ourselves. So what we're going to drive this train to, what Metaknyts will drive this train, the track that we're on, is first thing we're going to address is data sovereignty. Now, Dele, he's been involved in this space for a long time, right? He has over a decade of fighting for digital rights, ensuring that your data is protected, ensuring that it cannot be exploited or distributed without your permissions. He sits on many councils, and when everybody gets ready to check out Dele, please take your time and listen to those talks that he gives, those panels that he's on, those boards that he's a member of, because it gives a lot of great insight. Personally, for me, it was not just the Snowden revelations, but it was also when I see large corporations sit in front of a congressional body and lie through their face about what they're doing with the data that gives me a personal movement. So our thing is we're going to protect Black people in the space first, and everybody else can come along with us. And we're going to build that through addressing our community as we push out these NFTs, as we push out these comic series. They're just a medium, right? And I shouldn't say the word just because, as you can see behind me, I'm deep into
it's powerful. It's a powerful medium. Yeah.
Right.
And actually, I want to get into the Metaknyts comic series. And it's basically an allegory of what's happening today. Because I was watching a couple of videos. There's Terra and Digiterra. There's cybernetic vampires who suck the data from the users who are on Terra, and the data is the power source of Digiterra, and that's what gives them power. Is a fight between the bats and the fangs. Is part of the technocracy and powerful elite who are sucking the data from the users to gain power. And I'm like, oh my goodness! I was like, this sounds just like a CNN expo. This is just the news.
Is it great sci-fi? Don't they follow that model like Margaret Atwood did with The Handmaid's Tale, like Octavia Butler does with Parable of the Sower and the Earthsea concept? It's always something that closely mirrors or mimics what's going on in reality, except you give it a different type of edutainment twist, right? It's education and entertainment, which makes comic books so powerful. And then when you have
can you actually tell a little bit about the story itself so people know what it's about?
You did great. Listen, you did great. So here's the thing, right? You have Metaknyts over here, and that's us, right? And in many cases, we're Terrans, right? Earth or Terrans is a concept. But then you have Digiterrans, which is your digital mirror, your digital twin. And in many cases, folks are not aware that their digital twin has power. In fact, they forfeit their powers every time they check those terms of agreements and services. But that digital twin has power. It has power to create sovereignty. Well, same thing with corporations. In Terra, you have corporations, and those corporations are going about their business, their profit-making models that need that data in order to grow and aggregate themselves. But they also have a digital persona in Digiterra. And in that case, we call those fangs, right? And so we'll leave the Easter eggs for everybody else to discover.
Okay.
But they're truly sucking our data every single day. This platform is doing it as we speak. When we get on different platforms, they do it because that's just the model that there's been approached. So now you have a protagonist and an antagonist in your story, but you have a story arc in general of itself is how do you wrestle away and create sovereignty for your digital self? And how does that impact you in Terra? So the story about Metaknyts is really a struggle, a fight. So you can obtain that sovereignty in the metaverse. And the comic series is launched in a way in which you see the birth of decentralization in our space. The lead character that comes out is an introduction from a young Terran that has a digital twin that he's not aware of, that's very powerful, that is being leveraged by a main character that we all know in the Bitcoin space right now, right? So again, I'm gonna leave the Easter eggs, but it introduced us to that story. And specifically for NFT, while we were developing the characters with the first crypto comic, Dele is, the Metaknyts, was the first crypto comic, blockchain, recorded, got the receipts. And we are dropping the first crypto saga, where we're introducing those characters inside that storyline in multiple mini drops. To our knowledge, it's the first time it's been done. And the lead character for that is called the Emissary, right? And she, true to the term of emissary, responsible for introducing different cultures and the transfer of information. She is doing that for us in the NFT space. So the first NFT is the Emissary. She's introducing the greater populace to this concept of the Metaknyts, and that every subsequent character that's dropped follows very closely with every issue of the comic that's dropped. The first season of the comic is already in the can. The game is 90% developed. The infrastructure is already there. The company already exists. You can go to metaknyts.com, or you can go on Start Engine and search Metaknyts. Reg CF has already been launched. So you can be an investor in the real world. You can come and purchase the NFT in the metaverse, and you can link your two Terra and Digiterra self together. See how we're trying to layer this together?
There you go.
And then you can help us all fight for data sovereignty. And
And I think we have someone else joining the party. I'm just gonna add Ness.
Hey, Ness, how we
Hello.
doing? Ness is one of the artists on the team. She's critical. All of them are. We call them our emissaries.
Yes.
I'll let you and Ness chop it up a bit.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is just an organic interview. We'll just have people come in and as time goes, make it free flowing. So Ness, you're one of the artists on the Metaknyts project, and I think is an amazing project. And I actually got to see a lot of the artistic work on there. It's completely beautiful, and you have a physical print, a physical copy, and a digital copy for both sort of readers. I always like the tangible physical copy because you can flip through the pages, and it's tangible, you can touch it. So and it's very beautiful. More so on just the artistic level, how does the collaboration process between the artists work? Like who works on which aspect, and how's that coordinated?
Yeah, so in the beginning, whenever a new character is introduced, we kind of have the creator of the comic give us some line art. We'll read through like a chapter of the comic that might be introducing the character. He'll go into the lore and all of that. And then we kind of look at her, or for the emissary or for any of the characters, we look at the character and kind of pick it apart and decide what traits there are. And like the people who feel comfortable taking on certain traits or feel like something is calling to them, they want to draw this or that, they're getting ideas, they'll kind of just grab the traits that they want. So we kind of split everything up in the beginning, and then we kind of do our research into the lore. Like there's a lot of like Easter eggs in the comic about like the Dogon history and stuff like that. So in the process of like doing that history, we'll get ideas and we come back together and talk it out some more. So yeah.
Well, what is the Dogon history? What's Dogon? Did I open up Pandora's box?
You did. So basically, they're like an ancient culture that's located kind of in the Mali region, the West African region, and their science, their knowledge of the sciences and like tracking the solar system and the stars and stuff was like way, way, way advanced. So they basically were able to track the number of like celestial bodies in the Sirius system before with their current technology. So it kind of makes you question thinking that past civilizations were unintelligent or like not as far as advanced as we are, because they were able to see something, you know, eons away that with all of our technology, it took us a while to grasp. So yeah.
Dogon. And I think that's so important
Mhm.
to know our history, know the achievements and the advancements that we had at that time. And because that's not always highlighted, it's actually very rarely highlighted. So to use different tropes from our past, the African ancestry of the past is great. I had no idea that was a part of the influence.
Not only is it Afrocentric, it's Afrofuturist, right? So
Hmm.
you'll see as you are advancing through the comic series and as you're receiving those different characters in the NFT drops, oh, excuse me, all of the symbology, and they're all Easter eggs. Nothing is by happenstance. You see something and you're not aware of it, it hopefully it spurs our community to go dig into a little bit, and because when they discover it, it'll reveal an entire new layer of the storyline itself, of those characters and their character arcs in the storyline.
When does the first episode drop? Because I know it's almost like a prelude. I think the prelude dropped already. And so when's the first episode?
Oh, you tracking, man. 0.0 of the motion comic, the digital comic, and the print comic is out. 0.1. And you're right, they're both preludes to the entire saga. And episode 1 drops right after we drop the first NFT, which is at the end of the month, end of September, early October.
Okay. And where are you dropping the NFTs? Because I know there's so many different platforms.
Directly from my website. Come on, man. We're going to do it right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. I
Metaknyts.io.
didn't know if it was OpenSea or something like that.
Well, listen, you'll be able to buy on OpenSea is where your purchase will be revealed. And that's also where all the secondary activity will happen. But to mint it, you'll do it directly from our website.
I have to add the man of the hour on.
Well, all right. There he is.
Dele.
Hey, hi, everyone.
Hi, Dele.
Hello. How you all doing out there?
Very good.
Good.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Well, I was saying that I got the Metaknyts download. We talked about self-sovereignty, data protection, how this series is about data protection, is Afrocentric, Afrofuturist. It's an amazing project, and I think as the cryptocurrency space develops, we're going to need more creativity. We need more stories, fictional stories told by us, people like us who have our perspectives and able to inject our culture into this digital space. So looking at the Metaknyts project, you guys encapsulate all of that. So Dele, how did you come up with this idea and the inspiration for this project?
Hey, thanks. Thank you for having us. Really exciting. Yeah, really and truly, I think for me, I'd spent a lot of time working on the more technical sides of data sovereignty. So policy, regulation, standards, code, applications, all of this stuff, which was critical, and it gave a sense of the art of the possible. But I always knew that in order for this to catch fire with our community and for it to start to become something more of a movement, we're going to have to find a way to connect with people emotionally around these issues. You know, when you say data to people, kind of, their eyes glaze over. It's like you're saying algebra or calculus, right? And nobody is going to get excited about that. So, but I knew that it was critical that people had to get excited about this and understand the space. And so I wanted to find a exciting, compelling, emotionally engaging way to get people involved with the subject, with the matter, with the space. And I grew up on comics. I love comics. They played a massive role in helping me make sense of the world when I was a young man, like in my late teens and early 20s, along with science fiction. So I was a big fan of both of those genres. But then also I did research on comics and found out that they were very powerful. They're generally considered the most powerful means of propaganda. And effectively, that's how Marvel was born. I mean, Captain America was really kind of addressing fascism, and the X-Men. Even Stan Lee wrote the X-Men as a way to talk about the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And it's interesting how he flipped it, that Professor X was like the Martin Luther King type character, and Magneto was the Malcolm X-like character, but it was a way of dealing with these really complex issues. So I thought a comic story would be a great way to deal with a matter as complex as data rights, data sovereignty, but that could make it compelling, that people could connect with emotionally.
Right. Yeah, I feel like, especially in this space that we're building together, I think this is an industry that's fast paced. It's very young, and it takes creative thinkers and entrepreneurs to help build that out. And this is a Black Bitcoin Billionaire, so we are Bitcoin centric here. So I know me and Dave were talking about earlier, like, okay, the NFTs, okay, we're the laser eye crew. But I think there's space for all of us to exist in the same, just like how the baseball cards and people who are into wrestling, who are is collectibles. I'm not sure if I asked before, but I know the next episode comes after the NFT release. So when is the NFT release, and what will that be, or is that still under wraps right now?
No. Listen, we've already started leaking out a little bit. In fact, Ness and Dele are the biggest leakers on the team.
No, that's not true. No.
We're gonna have to watch you, David, man. Honestly, we're gonna have to watch this brother, because man, damn,
releasing on their burner accounts on Twitter. Look out for October.
Yeah. So listen, late September, early October, we're sensitive. Right now, the price of ETH is down. It's like the price of Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin maximalists, I'm trying to win some favor with them right now. Buy the dip, right? You're gonna buy. Now is the time to get into Bitcoin. If you're a hodler, or if you are just casually interested and you're thinking about dipping that toe in, do it right now. And for the Bitcoin maximalists, I would like to say to you, market caps don't lie. Let me try to talk your language, right? And now's the time to buy some ETH too. If you want to dip your toe, do it now. And specifically, if you want to explore NFTs, but you've always been thrown off by the culture of NFTs traditionally, and different type of avatars, and you wanted something more meaningful, then this is the project for it. Because while we have a comic saga that we introduce as NFTs, the greater mission is so much more important. And so the end of September, early October, we will take a look at what the ETH prices are, what the gas prices are for Ethereum, because we're launching the first NFT on Ethereum, and that is a legitimate concern. And we'll pick a window of time in which there's not a lot of other large projects being launched. We're okay with letting them get their glory just so we can save our community the gas fees. So we'll let them get their glory on a certain day, and traditionally at the end of every month, the last couple of days is when we see a bunch of stuff launch. There's a window in there in which we feel like our launch will be well received by our community, and we will not cause large congestion on the network, pushing up those gas fees, then we'll take advantage of that. And the only way you're going to know how that's going to happen is by going to our website, metaknyts.io. You'll see right now a coming soon banner, because when we open it up, we will have registration for the pre-sale. You'll get email notifications. You'll know when everything's happening. And if you want to check it out right now or follow it right now, you can come on our Discord. You can follow Metaknyts on Twitter. Has a link to the Discord, take you right into the community. Community's growing like crazy. We just opened it up last night. 50 people jumped in like immediately, ready to go. So here's another important thing, Ian. We're only launching 1,860 of the emissary, the very first character, 1,860. So right now on Start Engine, Metaknyts, if they go and take a look at it, they'll see there's already over 3,300 investors. Proud to say I was one, jumped on over 18 months ago. So just from the investor side of the house, who's interested in real life comic sagas, just from that interest going in, there's a lot of pressure to ensure that you get one. In the greater NFT space, because we have our great emissaries, each of them have huge followings of people, and all of them are interested in getting in. And then just like you heard us on Clubhouse, because we are targeting our community first, we're getting a lot of interest there. So what I wanted to say, I said all that to say, there's only 1,860. You got to be involved in the community. We are really about activism. And I'm going to take one quick side note. I am tired of hearing the term we're early adopters if you're sitting out there just observing. You ain't adopting jack if you're sitting on the sideline listening every day. You haven't bought a Bitcoin yet or Satoshis yet. You haven't went and did anything on the ETH. You haven't done an NFT. You haven't been engaged in the community. You're not an adopter. You're an observer. And our community has observed long enough from a perspective of seeing a new technology, not adopting it, only to be exploited by it later. You don't have to sit in that pool or that train of thought now. Let this be your first NFT. We have on the Discord and in Twitter, and when you pre-register, you get all sorts of onboarding instructions, take you from scratch. You never even, if you can't even find what we mean by the metaverse, we'll walk you through that process so this can be your first NFT. I'll take a break and stop.
All good, all good. So as we're wrapping up, we got the full synopsis of the Metaknyts universe, and it really is a medium that teaches self-sovereignty and with your data and protecting that and knowing. Because my thought was always thinking, okay, if Google and Twitter, they're using my data and they're selling it to third parties, where's my cut? Like, I think that's going to be the next step in sort of data protection rights and what we fight for on a legislation level. Because, if I just say Toyota 3 times near my phone, next time I go on Google, I'm like, what? Do you want a new car? Like, huh? It's like, how you know about that? So it's happening right now. And we need to take more ownership over our data, our information, what's ours, and how you created a world that sort of personifies that is beautiful. So before you go, just to get people more into the lore, I'm going to ask each one of you who's your favorite character and why. So we'll go through it. So Tayo, I'm going to add you on. So should I Ness, let's start with you.
Okay. My favorite character is going to be the emissary, of course. I mean, she's my favorite character just because of her depth and just because of the knowledge that she has. So she acts as like a high priestess or an oracle to the God being, or like the knower of all truths. And so because of that, And because of like, you know, her age, she's ancient. She has all of this like knowledge and life and just like experience. Because of that, she's kind of like the most powerful character. She's able to kind of traverse where she will. In the Metaknyts or in Digiterra, basically people are more solid or more dense based on the level of control they have over their data, or based on the amount of data that they have kept. So the villains in the story are like Fang that kind of like suck people's data, and they like have more power and they're able to influence the digital world, and Terra, which would be the physical world, but she is kind of like the most dense character. So it's like kind of like impossible for her data to be stolen. And, you know, just also her poise and her fashion sense and just, you know, just all of that makes her pretty awesome. And her hairstyles, you know, they're relatable. So Easter egg.
Did you draw her, or were you the artist?
We
for her?
all assisted in her
Okay.
creation. Yes.
Got it. Cool. Okay, like the oracle type almost.
Yes.
Okay. Dave, how about you?
Ditto. I mean, come on, man. Everything she just said. Listen, emissaries is also because she represents a reach out to our community, and what an emissary does, right? They offer a transition of information and culture, and so it gives us an opportunity to say to someone who's only coming to this space from a financial perspective that there is an opportunity to build community and have substance. And sometimes it's not about the quick trade or the quick flip. It's more about how involved you are with your community. And the emissary represents that for me. So yeah, she's my favorite.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look out for her. Okay, cool. Dele, take us home.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny actually. It's hard to really challenge on the emissary, really. And
it's like picking your children. Like, which one's your favorite? Like, this is.
I know.
You know
I was thinking of giving you that kind of answer when you first asked it, because you know, having created most of all, if not all, the characters, most of the characters, there's a little bit of me in each of them, so I kind of feel very close to them. But the emissary, actually, I do feel really close to, particularly as well, because it was a real journey in defining her visuals. And it was it's funny because when I first came up with the need for her, it was quite a tangential role. She was like a bridge role. She was someone that was connecting us to from one part of the story to another. And it was a critical connection. And I think that's part of what I find really compelling about her. She takes us out of this world of logos and logic and physics and matter into this world that is still logical, but a different kind of logic. You know, like that thing, I think it was Arthur C. Clarke who said that any future technology looks like magic to people who don't understand it, right? And so she takes us into this realm of this higher tech, this higher kind of magical realm that is really, she opens us up to this digitarian priesthood, and that's really compelling in that sense. So I think for those reasons, I like the fact that she bridges us to this place where we can actually start to explore the magic, and we do it from an African-centric perspective, where we can use this deep history we have to look deeply into the future. And that's, I think, the real trick of the metaverse, is that it gives us an environment where we can go into explore this in a really meaningful way. So that's really cool. And one thing I did want to just wrap with on this as well, and staying in the theme of the law, is to the Bitcoin maximalists. So, you know, look, you're going, the first season is pretty much about Satoshi and what his legacy. And
I told you he gave a bunch of Easter eggs. But believe me, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going, Dele.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, Satoshi is legendary in the story, and, you know, it starts with Bitcoin. And I will say just two things. I think the first thing for me is I'm a Bitcoin maximalist in a sense, in one sense, but that doesn't stop me from being super pro on everything else. Because I think the key word in the space is and, not or, you know, and that's the thing. We're just building layers on layers of different capability. Bitcoin's not going anywhere, but there will be other things that come that build on what Satoshi gave us. And Ethereum is, you know, that's generation one as far as I'm concerned. Gen one crypto blockchain is Bitcoin. Gen two is the Ethereum legacy, and it's a whole generation of capability of immutable programmability that's game changing. And there's another layer that's coming, which I would call layer or not layer. Sorry, there's another what's the word I'm looking for? Generation. There's another generation of blockchain coming. So Bitcoin's Gen 1, Ethereum is the leader of Gen 2, and I think there's Gen 3 that will be the next one that comes, and we're going to be playing a very significant role in that. So in the look, and this is the spirit of decentralization. The essence of it is the law of one. All is one, no one is all. It's not about one system. It's not about one solution. All systems will be one, but no one system will be all systems. So I'll leave it with that.
This is great. And as I call myself, I'm a Bitcoin optimalist. I want to optimize the use of Bitcoin, but that's not in any exclusion to any other projects and mediums. So that's how I see it. I think we all can exist, but just know the risks. Do the research, whether it's a cryptocurrency, is Bitcoin. I'm optimized Bitcoin because I look not just because of the price number, but the humanitarian aspect of it too. How those who are the most marginalized can use Bitcoin to peacefully opt out of central authority and central control that has been historically suppressive and oppressive. So that's the bent I look through. That's the lens that I look through it with. So more humanitarian effort, but there's so much utility in decentralized platforms. And as me and Dave were talking earlier, I was like, I'm a nerd. I'm a blurred, as he called it. I love my anime. I love my comics, and there's so much value in that too. Because I think you were saying that it gives you a lens and angle to life, and it amplifies what already is, but through fiction. So I'm excited about this project. I'm excited for you guys. But before we wrap up, so can you just tell us once again where we can find the Metaknyts platform, the website, social media, so we're on it as soon as everything drops?
It'd be great if the emissary takes us out on that.
Where you can find it. Okay, so be ready at the end of September and the first week of October. So just depending on the price of ETH and gas prices, we're going to go ahead and drop around that time. Definitely check metaknyts.io, metaknyts.io. Go ahead and go there so you can get your pre-mint in order and kind of secure your spot in getting an emissary. Okay. And the final question, sorry.
Discord.
The Discord, yes. So if you check the Metaknyts Twitter or any of the artists or anyone on the team's Twitter, you'll find a link to the Discord. So definitely, if you search Metaknyts, spelled the same as in metaknyts.io, you'll find a link over to the Discord. There's a lot of information there and how you can kind of just start your journey towards data sovereignty and just connect with the team and all that type of stuff. So.
In the interest of Easter eggs, and especially since Dele already popped one on you with Satoshi, maybe he should share with you a really easy way to remember nights, right? So when you think Metaknyts, folks may not remember the unique way to spell it. So if you would, Dele, it'll help folks remember how to find us.
Well, yeah, so it's all about data sovereignty. It's all about owning yourself. It's all about knowing yourself. So Knyts, as we spell it, Knyts, is know now your true self. know now your true self. And that's
now
the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's going to be the beginning of a big journey for everyone. So it's a massive, the story is going to follow that strand, and then it's going to shift dramatically again, all in this same concept of know now your true self.
KNYTS.
Exactly. And so when
All
you
right.
become a knight, you're basically, and you'll see this when you come to our Discord and go into the Lord, but you become a knight. It's like you know now your truth. So all of these meta knights are these guardians who know their truth. They know their true self, their true worth, their true value, their true power, and they use it to protect others who do the same.
Oh, this is beautiful. We got a whole ecosystem. I'm looking at the next Lord of the Rings. That's why I'm talking. That's what I see right now. Thank you so much, guys, for hopping on. I appreciate all your perspectives, and I love this project. So if anything else new comes out, definitely hit us up. We'll be there, and love to see how this grows. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.